Hey guys, Baruch Hashem, brand new week away from Hanukkah, the festival of lights, and thank God we're nearing towards the end of the 11th tour of Likutey Moharan, and that means a Rabbi Bar Chana story. And you guys know how wild and interesting these stories are, and how genius Rabbi Nachman's extrapolation of these stories are based on the Torah that we've learned. So we're just going to get right into it. Rabbi Bar Chana said, one time we were traveling on a boat. We saw this bird. And its ankles were up to water. So its feet were in the water, and the water was up to its ankles. And its head was in the heavens. So it must have been a very big bird. But Amrina, I think it's Thanksgiving. Okay. But Amrina, and then we say, late Maya, there's no water. And it wanted to go down into it in order to cool ourselves. Okay. Nafak barat kalava marlan. A voice from heaven called out to us. Lo techutu lahacha. Don't go down there. Dinfala le chatzina lavar nagara hacha ha-sheva shani. A carpenter's axe fell down here in this water 7 years ago. And it still hasn't reached the ground. So obviously, even though the water was up to the bird's ankles, whatever that means, that water was obvious. That bird was obviously huge because the water was large enough that this carpenter's axe fell 7 years ago and it still hasn't reached the bottom. You guys know all about this when you visit the beach and you have these type of experiences like Rabbi Bar Chana does. And it wasn't only because the water was so abundant that this carpenter's axe didn't reach the bottom even in 7 years. Ela mishum deradifa maya, but it's also because the waters were so rapid. They were running so rapidly. Amar Ravashi said, Hi Ziz Sadaihu. What bird was this? This was the bird that King David speaks about in Tehillim, Ziz Sadai. Like it says there, Ziz Sadai imadi. King David says that the Ziz Sadai is with me. Okay. So now Rabbi Nachman is going to explain how this has to do with the Brit, how this has to do with halacha, how this has to do with Kabbalah, how this has to do with unity, how this has to do with speech. Let's get to it. Tziparta, what's the concept of the bird? Zebechinat dibur. The concept of the bird is always the concept of speech. Shehu emsa'i ben ha'adam, shehu nitaveh b'mayim duchrim v'nukvim ben shamayim. Because speech is the bridge between man and shamayim. Speech is what connects heaven and earth. Speech is what bridges together a person and Hashem. So speech can traverse universes. And that's why Rabbi Nachman was so insistent that we constantly talk to Hashem, because it's that speech itself which is what's going to allow us to move beyond our boundaries and our challenges and our obstacles in our life, and to actually achieve tremendous growth, almost exponential growth, and all through this quality of speech, because speech goes from all the way up from Hashem down to us. And it says it's the bridge between man, who's formed from masculine and feminine waters. What does that mean? We know that when man is intimate with woman, right? So he gives forth his seed. This is called male waters. And she also has an arousal from below, which is called feminine waters. And according to Kabbalah, it's impossible to conceive except when male waters are connecting to female waters. What does that mean practically for us? It means that whenever we do the Ratzon of Hashem, when we do the things that Hashem wants us to do in order to bring us closer to Him, that's called us achieving feminine waters. Why are they feminine? Because the concept of femininity is spirituality, which we're causing for ourselves. We are the cause of those feminine waters. We're causing that arousal below through our own actions. And then automatically, those feminine waters cause a reciprocal action above, which are called masculine waters. Meaning Hashem's response to us doing the right thing is he now gives us more blessing in our life. That's the concept of female and male waters coming together. And that's what creates man. Because Adam, the concept of man is not just I'm a human being, but it's that I reached a level of elevated spirituality. That's called being Adam. It means to be God conscious. And all of that comes from speech. And that connects us to Shemayim. And we know that Shemayim, according to Kabbalah, is very deep Torah understanding. And this is alluded to by the fact that Yaakov Avinu, he's related to the sphere of Tiferet. Tiferet is also a code word for Shemayim, for heaven. What does Yaakov have to do with heaven? The answer is the pasuk that says, give emet to Yaakov, give truth to Yaakov. So we see very clearly that truth, Yaakov, is the concept of Shemayim. And we know that Yaakov represents deep Torah understanding. He's the concept of truth. How do we get there? How do we bridge man and Shemayim? Through speech. Like it says about a leper. Who's a leper? A leper is a person whom he has made a blemish in speech. As a result of this blemish in speech, he now needs to bring 2 birds as a sacrifice. And when he brings these birds, then this disease of leprosy goes away. Now we know that in the Torah, there's only one disease that's spoken about in the Torah. That is the disease of leprosy, Metzora. What's fascinating about that is the fact that we know that the Torah is the blueprint for reality. And therefore, if it's the only disease that comes up in the Torah, it must mean in some very deep way, every single disease that we have spiritually and physically is a manifestation of this one disease that is called Metzora or leprosy. Where does Metzora leprosy come from? It comes from Lashon Hara, from speaking bad about other Jewish people. So we see from this how serious it is to speak bad about another Jew, no matter if they're good or if they're bad. If you're close to them, you're not close to them, they deserve it, they don't deserve it. Because Lashon Hara, speaking badly about a fellow Jew, is actually when you say the truth about them. When you speak about someone, it's not the truth, that's called Motzi Shemra. You're making a bad name for them. But this thing that we're speaking about that causes illness within a person, that's actually when you say the truth. Many people say to themselves, well, I'm saying the truth about this person, so they think it's a milah, they think it's something wondrous that they're doing. However, they're doing something tremendously damaging for both them, the person they're speaking about, and also themselves. How do you rectify this? You need to bring the thing which does a lot of chattering. Because the Midrash says, come, yavo patataya v'chaper al patataya. Let the chatterer come and atone for the chatterer. Meaning, by bringing these 2 live birds, we're going to fix and rectify our blemished speech. So we see very clearly that the bird is the concept of speech. What type of speech? We know it's the type of speech that allows you to get closer to Hashem, that allows you to do teshuvah, because this is the whole milah of speech, that it could take a person no matter where they're holding, no matter how low that they are, even if they are literally existing in the lowest place of spirituality. They have no idea what the Torah is, they have no connection to Hashem, they don't keep the mitzvot at all. Still, Rabbi Nachman says if this person simply speaks to Hashem in a way which is called real speech, which we're going to see in a moment what that is, then automatically it's going to show him how to get closer to Hashem. He's not even going to need to ask anybody, what's the next step for me? When he speaks to Hashem, he's going to see exactly how to do it. And when this bird, meaning speech, its feet were in the water, and the water was up to his ankles. Because this speech is going to enlighten him in all the areas in which he needs to come back to Hashem. Because it says in roots, Vatgal Mar Gelotav, she uncovered his feet and lay down. We know, according to Tikuni Zohar, that Boaz, the male in this story, represents the tzaddik. And we know that Ruth, this famous feminine cover, she represents Malchut. She represents the speech which brings a person back to Hashem. So what does it mean she uncovered his feet and laid down? It means that she allowed Boaz to become a tzaddik. Like we know when, how did their connection start? Ruth was in the fields, and Boaz was doing the mitzvah of a mitzvah called leket. It's a special mitzvah for agriculture, that when a person's in the field and he is bringing fruits from his own field, or he's bringing grain from his field, let's say some of those stalks of grain fall from his hand. It's a sore. He's not allowed to pick those grains back up. He has to leave them for the poor. Okay, so it's a very beautiful mitzvah. Who was the poor here? It was Ruth. So Ruth was in the field. She was picking up his leket. And as a result of that, when she came back and she saw her aunt Naomi, she said, "Where did you get these gigantic stalks from?" She said, "I did this for Boaz." And we learn from there a very deep secret, that more than the person who gives tzedakah for the poor person, right, more than he's giving him sustenance, he's doing something beautiful for him, the poor person is actually doing something beautiful for the person giving tzedakah. He's doing something more tremendous for the person who's giving the tzedakah by being poor. Because tzedakah, we know, according to Rabbi Nachman, it's going to bring geula, it's going to rectify worlds, it's what brings truth into the world. That truth is what allows prayer to be answered. So tzedakah is a very, very big inyan. So what is it that allowed Boaz to be the tzaddik, to give leket? It was Ruth's poverty. Meaning, Ruth being speech is what allowed Boaz to become a tzaddik. That is, Nikra dibor tzipar to daka'e ad karsule b'maya. Speech must show a person that they are very far. So this is a very deep concept. That really, what is the concept of speech? What is it about speech that's going to allow me to come so close to Hashem? It's because speech is going to allow me to see that I'm not all that. That as soon as a person comes and talks to Hashem, he automatically realizes his loneliness. Because what's the whole thing which is disconnecting a person from Hashem? It's yesh, it's ego. We know Hashem created yesh ma'ayin, something from nothing. Right? The world existed in the Ein Sof, the endless nothingness of God. And then out of that, Hashem created everything in existence. But the Baal Shem Tov teaches that the only way to get back to Hashem is to do the opposite process. To take that yesh and bring it back to ayin. To take your somethingness and nullify it into nothingness. And how do you do that? Rabbi Nachman says it's only possible through hibodedut. It's only possible through talking to Hashem. Because as soon as a Jew talks to Hashem and he's coming from the right place, he's going to realize how small he is and how far he is from this infinite goodness. But it's possible. And so he's able to traverse this world through speech. And now he says, Maya, this is the concept of water. Because man is the concept of water. Because man comes from female waters and male waters uniting. And speech, which is the concept of the bird, this speech, which its feet is up to its ankle in water, it's because this man is at a low level. It's showing him that. His speech is illuminating him to the fact that the world is not only about him. That the reason why he's far from Hashem is not because he's struggling in his life. The struggling in his life is to show him that it's not only about him, that there's something much bigger going on. One of the things that suffering does for a person is it humbles him. Because prior to that suffering, he thinks that everything needs to go according to his ratzon. Wow. Okay. The lights have gone out in the yeshiva. I think I'm going to end the class. And Bezrat Hashem, if the lights come back on, we'll continue. But hopefully you got something from this class. This is Hashem's ratzon. He's humbling us. Okay. Everybody have an amazing, amazing night. Enjoy the short class.